Time to shit up. Now the first thing you think of when you think of Yuri is usually an innocent couple sharing an intimate moment together. Perhaps alone in a classroom, or a rooftop, or a gym, or a storage room, or any of the other numerous customary locations in a high school. The point is that they would be the pinnacle of all things pure and lovely. But there are times when Yuri must step into the harsh line of action and deliver a smackdown in the name of love. And that's what we'll be talking about today. 5 of the toughest, coolest, most badassest Yuri ships to ever walk the earth. Now it's important to note that I haven't watched every single anime. In fact, I'm a bit of a Yuri zoomer as it were. So I'm undoubtedly gonna miss a few Yuri ships that fall under this category. And just to get this out of the way, here's a few obvious ones I'm gonna exclude. Just because I haven't done my due diligence on them yet. So feel free to let me know how much of a poo-poo head I am in the comments. Anyway, so defining a badass is pretty nebulous. But basically, I'm just gonna talk about ships that are pretty much very efficient at whatever field they specialize in. And it doesn't have to be in physical combat. They could be tactical geniuses or sports goddesses. I think what I'm picturing are shonen action protagonists. Not exclusively, but you get the idea. And what's more important to keep in mind is that these ladies use their badassness to protect their beloved. Perhaps even to seduce them with their sexy skills. Also, the reason I made a 5 ships only list is because I really do have a lot to say about these 5 particular ships only. All the other characters I can think of which I'll put in the honorable mentions are more on the down low. But I'm not taking anything away from them. It's just that I don't have the same level of enthusiasm as I do for the 5 on this list. Also, I wasn't terribly concerned with the order of this list too. It just kind of ended up being what it is. But if you feel like it should be ordered a certain way, then by all means let me know. I'm just more focused on preaching the badassery. And finally, spoilers are in effect. Because obviously. Alright, let's dance. Number 5. Suletta and Miorine. Gundam. The Witch from Mercury. Oh yeah, we're kicking things off with a grouchy princess and her clumsy knight in shining robotic armor. I've dedicated so much of my channel to these two that any sane individual will be drained of all talking points and likely moved on to something more hip and trendy. But if there's one thing you must know is that I'm no sane individual, and any excuse I'm given to glorify these two into godhood, I will gladly take with a stupid grin on my face. So the epicness of Suletta and Miorine are pretty much complementary. They fill in the holes of what the other primarily lacks. And to prove how devoted I am, I'm leaving in that sentence despite how suggestive it is. What we have here is a classic brains and bronze couple. Miorine is the brilliant architect, while Suletta is the heroic legionnaire. And throughout the show, we see how much influence they have on the other. When we first meet Miorine, she was testy and very self-reliant. But as her time with Suletta increases, she's still testy, but becomes more reliant on others. Her girl boss status then reached peak capacity when she gave up her goal of going to Earth, and later became a CEO just to protect Suletta and Ariel. And given her shrewd management nature, Miorine naturally fit into this role like a speedo. She's direct, thorough, and a total hard-ass. Everything that makes for a great, terrible boss. And aside from that traumatizing hiccup involving Prospera, she went about her duties like a true leader. All for Suletta's future and well-being. Oh, and for world peace and all that. But everyone knows the girl who can dish out the love and ass whooping is none other than Miorine's beloved groom Suletta. At first glance, she's meek and totally harmless. But once you put her in a Gundam cockpit, your goose is cooked. Christmas style, baby. Being a genetically enhanced clone for the sole purpose of piloting Ariel, you expect nothing else but her putting posers in their place in big robot battles. But given her crazy stamina and reflexes, I would venture a guess that Suletta would be quite a force to be reckoned with outside of battles too. Like, maybe in more personal situations. Perhaps those of the intimate variety, if you know what I mean. She would be great in bed. But regarding her combat prowess, nothing will stop her from being the bride holder. And the proof is her 100% win rate. No, I will not count that stupid technicality. Suletta is a textbook example of fighting for love. Despite never intending to be involved in all the crazy Gundam drama, she quickly embraced it, which led to her eventually falling for Miorine. And of course, vice versa. Although one might say she was a little too devoted. In the end, their badassness burns strong. In fact, I have no doubt they could very well take over the entire universe if they tried. But I'm sure just settling down and being married is good enough for them. After everything that's happened, they deserve all the happiness in the world. Oh yes, that reminds me.
You!
さあ、ホムラちゃん、一緒に。
Number 4. Homura and Madoka. Madoka Magica. It took every fiber in my body to not replace these two with Kyoko and Sayaka. But in the end, I had to fight my biases and give it to the Yuri icons instead. Plus, they're literally God and the devil. Kind of an unfair advantage. But just to address the obvious, when you think of Madoka herself, you don't exactly associate her as being a tough gal. Like someone who would tear your lips off if you can't call her friends or something. That's more of Homura and Kyoko's thing. Rather, what makes Madoka so epic is her unparalleled decision to go God mode. After learning about Homura's endless time looping, she sacrifices her whole existence to finally put an end to Homura's cycle of pain, as well as the pain experienced by all magical girls. Past, present, and future. She dons the title of Goddess, and from then on makes it her eternal journey to guide all magical girls to Yuri heaven. A very heavy burden to bear, but it's all worth it to see her beloved disciples find peace and harmony. At the end of the day, it was Madoka's way of repaying Homura's kindness. And what could be a more romantic and badass way of saying I love you than making the ultimate sacrifice and rewriting the universe? That's a Casanova move in my book. However, the undisputed champ of the series must go to Madoka's better half, Akemi Homura. Her journey will be told for eons to come. The cruel and painstaking battle to see her dearest Madoka live on as an ordinary girl. There is not a single part of her story that isn't heart-wrenching. And like with most tragic backstories, it ended up molding her into a strong and silent badass, who for all intents and purposes carries the baggage of her past and displays antisocial behavior, a la Batman, Wolverine, the Punisher, Sasuke, Vegeta, Shadow the Hedgehog, and Clint Eastwood. Part of what makes the time-traveling warrior so fierce is her brutal efficiency, doing whatever she deems necessary to save Madoka, even if that means pushing her away. Of course, the red herring of her seemingly being the bad guy is also what makes the episode 10 reveal so impactful. Her resolve is ironclad, her skills are deadly, her insight is mighty, and her hair flip is dramatic and glossy. Even in Rebellion, Homura's badassness didn't lose any steam. Say what you will about it changing her character, but at the end of the day, Homura's motivation is still fervently the same. She's still fighting for Madoka's happiness, and if that means defying our Lord and Savior and rewriting the laws of the universe yet again, well,
if the world chooses to become my enemy, I will fight like I always have.
Hey, Shadow's cool again. I can make Sonic 06 references. Anyway, I just want to close by saying that hopefully we see more of what makes these characters such beloved badass lesbian icons in the new Madoka movie. Don't forget about what the fans want, you greedy narrow-minded movie execs. That's what the Sonic movie producers eventually did. This is my last Sonic reference. I promise.
もっと見せろ天童マヤ観客はそれが見たいのよあんた今までで一番可愛いわ私はいつだって可愛い
Number 3. Maya and Claudine. Shoujo Kageki. Review Starlight. Honestly, you can put any of the girls on this list, but one pair in particular stands out amongst this ragtag group of superstars, and it ain't the protagonists. Maya and Claudine captured many hearts with their sexy presence, but I never expected them to be as freaking wild as they were. To say that these two are talented is an understatement worthy of unrelenting ridicule. They got acting chops, they're dancing queens, they got golden pipes, and they're masters of the blade. It's an honest-to-God wonder how any of the girls were able to keep up with them. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What we really need to talk about is how their badassness is strengthened by each other. Just like Ouroboros, these two are forever powered by their intense rivalry, caught in a perpetual loop of determining who's the hottest. On one side, we have the charming and charismatic Tendo Maya, a prodigy in every sense of the word, able to make every room she enters more than 80% sexier. And on the other side, we have the fiery, wonderkind Saijo Claudine, a generational talent with equal parts grace and equal parts tenacity. And she's French. So when assessing the badass level of a character, a commonly overlooked factor is how much dominating aura they impose. If their presence alone is able to cause you to wet your pants from fear or horniness, then they can rightfully be deemed a badass Lord of Riz. A title worthy of envy by every middle school boy. Maya and Claudine has charisma oozing out of every pore, made evident by the constant glorification by their peers, and everyone with eyeballs. Now, at the risk of sounding controversial, I don't think it's too much of a stretch to claim that Maya is the majority holder of Riz out of the two. In fact, to this day, I still cannot think of another Yuri girl with more top energy than Tendo Maya. I just have to wonder how hard it was for Claudine to hold back this constant nuclear pressure. And although she's always in Maya's blast radius, Claudine is no slouch slouch and delivering some pushback herself. Finally proving that she can be the top in this relationship, Claudine manages to send shockwaves around the world by besting Tennomai in a rematch. Hashtag Top Kuro. Sometimes. The anime has proven that Kuromai is a dominating force in any capacity, even giving Hikari and Karen a run for their money, and pretty much only losing the battle because the writers said so. However, this would not all be possible without their constant reminder of how much they wish to surpass their limits. If shonen anime has taught us anything, it's that a character is only as good as their rival, and through that rivalry can they wish to become stronger and more badass. As long as their spirit burns red hot, Mai and Claudine will continue to show off their sexy skills, with their beloved always in their line of sight. Thus is the way of the stage girl. Number 2. Takina and Chisato. Licorice Recoil. Man, 2022 was awesome. Anime girls with guns is always gonna elicit a badass image, but Takina and Chisato breathe so much more life into this. I don't even know where to begin. Their character arcs in relation to each other are f***ing fantastic. They both help each other eventually see a different purpose of living. I mean, they're already badass enforcers from the start, but when they entered in each other's lives, it became much more than just completing missions or having fun. Starting with Takina, she was as serious and straight-laced as it gets. A soldier with only the organization's bottom line as the top priority, no matter the cost. But after meeting and spending some quality time with Chisato, Takina started feeling things that weren't there before, as she found a new purpose alongside her new partner. She even embraced Chisato's no-kill policy, putting more value on human life, and it became crystal clear whose life she valued above all else. Oh yes. If shonen anime has taught us anything again, it's that protecting the ones you love will make you 10 times more efficient at ass-kicking. As the show progresses, you see a great deal of Takina mellowing out and showing more emotion. But most importantly, she becomes laser-focused on protecting what's most precious to her. All I can say is you better have a death wish if you stand between her and Chisato's matrimonial future. Speaking of the ultimate licorice, don't let her bubbly personality fool you. She's got the moves of John Wick, the composure of Ethan Hunt, and the tenacity of Bugs Bunny. Also, her signature anime move is her ability to enter bullet time, meaning no mortal man can dream of hitting her in close quarters combat. Also, no man in general can dream of hitting honor in any quarters. Man, I'm so clever. And just like Batman, she's also badass enough to be non-lethal, which is basically like fighting with a handicap. And a crucial moment where Chisato had to break this code is when Shinji threatened Takina's life, which compelled our heroine to finally shoot to kill in order to protect her. It wasn't fatal, of course, but the point is that she thought it was. Now aside from their fantastic ass-kicking teamwork, which is apparent throughout the show, I want to focus on the most important badass scene between them. In the climax of the anime where they had the final showdown with Majima, it seemed like Chisato was finally gonna meet her maker. And up until this point, we know that Chisato had been fully resigned to her mortality. She knows she doesn't have much time left in this world, so she lives life to the fullest every day, and is quite que sera sera if she ever does bite the dust. It's not necessarily a bad take on life, but it does mean that she won't make concerted efforts to continue living. Cue Takina's entrance, which causes Chisato to immediately fight back Majima. This scene is basically the culmination of their character arcs. Chisato found something worth living on for in Takina, which was affectionately and cleverly indicated by the sound of her heart beating after she hears Takina's voice. And Takina, who was essentially a drone in the system, finds new meaning in her life thanks to Chisato's bright and cheery influence, and the gratitude that she feels materialized in her desperately ensuring her safety. Point being, they're both at their most lethal when working together. So bad guys beware. These secret agents are their own secret weapons.
いいコンビよ。
そうでしょ
Alright, you know the drill. Time to make it up to people with some badass Honourable Yuri ships. Give 'em hell, girls. Number 1. Anis and Euphie. The magical revolution of the reincarnated princess and the genius young. It would have been impossible to make this list and not include these two revolutionary Yuri queens. Think of Takina and Chisato, but replace the guns with swords and magic, and bump the Yuri factor to yeah. When your leading ladies are an isekai protagonist and a magic using aficionado, you know exactly that they're gonna tear house. But once upon a time, these two had very different beginnings. Euphie was blessed with a huge MP meter, while Anis was blessed with none at all. However, that didn't deter the wily princess, as she used her former memories to concoct a bevy of bizarre yet familiar magical items to use in place of actual magic, a practice she dubbed magicology. She then became known as the Plundering Princess, using her magical weapons to slice and dice monsters for their magic stones in order to magically experiment on more magic stuff. With magic. Even though life gave her a bad draw, Anis used her unique little noodle to become the badass magician that he's always strived to be, thanks in part to her admiration of a certain young lady. Euphie Magenta is seen by all as a perfect noblewoman, beautiful, talented, and an overall genius, which was implied somewhere. Her valuable skills then became of great use to Anis after being employed as her assistant / guinea pig. And one of the items she had to test was her signature weapon, Arkanseal, a rapier sword that channels a user's elemental magic. A truly elegant weapon for a more civilized age. And when the dark times came in the form of a goddamn dragon, Anis and Euphie got to show off their sexy teamwork. It was a long and hard battle, but using their ingenuity and combined strength, they managed to cut through the dragon's final smash. And for her victory, Anis got a sweet new magic stone, and some kind of curse of knowledge or something from the dragon. The point is that she beat a raid boss and got some massive XP from it. And after using the magic stone to give herself a gnarly tattoo, she gained some new magic tricks, such as being able to resist Lainey's vampire charm ability. And I'm also guessing that without her new dragon powers, she wouldn't have been able to fight as well as she did against her brother, though I'm sure she would have whooped his ass regardless. Anyway, with so much on both their shoulders, neither Anis or Euphie were willing to back down in protecting their beloved's happiness, which meant one of them had to be the future ruler of the land. And what better way to decide than to have the two badass lovebirds engage in single combat. Both girls put up a hell of a fight, but with her signature anime finishing move, Euphie was able to beat Anis's dragon seal, showing just how far she's come in both strength and resolve. Like I said before, characters are at their strongest when protecting the ones they love, and Euphie has held maximum love and gratitude for a wacky mad scientist, enough to come out on top. Speaking of which, Euphie also pulls a surprise W by being the top in their relationship. And as we all know, the greatest achievement of a badass lesbian is being able to show your girlfriend just how much you love her. Every nook and cranny of her.
ユフィ、待って。嫌です。
So how do you like them apples? Anyway, if you have any other badass Yuri entries, feel free to let everyone know in the comments, because I'm sure there are more that I either forgot or haven't seen. Yuri girls fighting in the name of love will continue to inspire all of us, because God knows we all strive to protect our significant others, and look hot and sexy doing it. Incidentally, I hope 2025 can facilitate more badass Yuri ships as well. And speaking of that, it seems like a good time to talk about the anime I'm currently watching this season. So the only anime so far are Sorero Utility, basically a girls club golfing anime, and Momentary Lily, which is about some superpowered high school girls fighting against weird alien things. SU is pretty decent so far. I mean, it's certainly no Birdie Wing, but if you enjoy a chill show with cute girls playing some in-depth golf, then look no further. There's definitely some shipping to be had here, and I'm sure it's gonna stay in the area of not quite reaching full-on Yuri, but rather giving you some shipping crumbs instead. Momentary Lily is a bit of a bizarre one, to be honest. The premise is pretty standard, but it's the style and editing that causes me to recoil. It makes me wonder if the people who made it had ADHD, because every shot lasts about 2 seconds, and switches to another random angle for seemingly no reason. And I think some of the lines are ad-libbed too, because there's barely a time when a character isn't talking. But it does have some impressive production value, and the characters are somewhat fun to watch, if not a little cliche. Oh, and there's some potential between some of the characters too. They might just put the Lily in the Momentary Lily here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I just want to take the time to thank everyone for helping me reach 2,000 subs. I never would have expected to come this far with this channel. I mean, I kind of started it on a whim just to blow off some steam, but knowing that there are like-minded Yuri fans out there who care enough to hear about what I have to say, well, it really warms the old ticker. Kind of like how the Sonic brand is no longer a subject of ridicule anymore. Anyway, that's all for now. See you around.